Right, we're joined with Will Palin here at the Monday Night Community Show. We're out and about. Welcome along to the show, Will.
Thanks.
I was wondering, firstly, if you could tell us a little bit about how you come to be involved in Promenade.
Sure. Well, I bought a house on the island about 4 years ago, just outside the dockyard, and I fell in love with the architecture of the island. In fact, I fell in love with the island full stop. And I always thought it was a shame that there wasn't a national focus on what you have here in terms of art, architecture and culture. Although there's a lot of good events going on, there didn't seem to be exactly a nationwide acknowledgement of what there was here. So I got talking to a lot of people, Jenny at the Bluetown Heritage Centre, Janice at the Sheppey Little Theatre, about possibly seeing if I could get a few speakers down that would form the core of a weekend of events focusing on heritage on the island.
Now, I was speaking to Alison actually last Monday, and it's actually a really big thing for the island.
Well, I hope so. I mean, the idea was to start off small and just see how it went. It's a bit of an experiment, really. And I said from the outset that there's a lot going on here anyway, and this is really a way of just getting a lot of those other events out to a wider audience. And if we start off small, hopefully we can expand and it can become a regular event on the island.
Now, I know you want to talk a little bit more about a trust, I think it was we were talking about.
Yeah, I've got several heritage hats on, I suppose. I'm involved with a trust called the Spitalfields Historic Buildings Trust, and they were set up in London about 40 years ago, rescuing Georgian houses in the centre of London. They rescued about 60 houses and then were priced out of London and began to look elsewhere for projects to take on. And they came to the island about 10 years ago almost and bought Shurland Hall, which is near Eastchurch, which was a complete ruin. And everyone said, "You're crazy, this building is beyond hope, beyond repair." But the Trust have now successfully repaired and restored that building to an exemplary standard. And the next thing was to direct the Trust towards what was going on in Sheerness, because we felt that there were a large number of listed buildings in the dockyard and around the dockyard which were being neglected, and they needed a saviour. So the Trust negotiated with the owner of a large site inside the dockyard, which is, I suppose, the old residential quarter for the naval officers, which includes about 11 listed buildings. And somehow, in a very short time, they managed to pull together the funds to buy out that site. And individual people have come in and they've invested money to take on the individual properties and restore them as houses again. And it's been a really exciting project. The deal went through earlier this year, and the Trust have been busy working on those buildings and clearing the landscape and discovering the treasures which have been forgotten there for 30 years or so.
But it's nice seeing them being restored.
It is. It's really exciting, and I likened it to a bit like clearing the jungle away from the Aztec pyramids, because there was 30 years or more in some cases of undergrowth around the residential area, and we've been clearing that away and discovering the architecture of the old dock. A lot was lost, sadly, shortly after the naval dockyard closed in 1960, but there's lots left, and lots has been hidden away. And peeling the creeper away from the walls and discovering wonderful finials or hidden doors in the dockyard wall, all this kind of stuff gives me a real buzz. It's going to be really exciting for the island when that stuff is finally ready to be unveiled and shown to the public. And I think it's going to eventually make the naval area here one of the tourist highlights of Kent. There's no question about it. And I think that's what we're looking for, is to really get Sheerness on the map nationally as a destination for tourists, but also as something that locals can come and see and enjoy and feel proud of.
We are talking to Will Palin here at the Monday Night Community Show on BRFM. Okay, we're joined back with Will Palin. We're out and about here at the Monday Night Community Show. Will, can you tell us more about Promenade and some of the talks that are going to be happening?
Yeah, it's going to be a pretty amazing weekend. It started off just with a few speakers who are from the world of architecture and heritage and perhaps are nationally known. And the events around it have now expanded. So there's all sorts of things going on. But in terms of my involvement, I managed to persuade Dan Cruikshank, who some of you will know from the television, to come on the Friday night and sort of open proceedings with a talk at the Sheppey Little Theatre. And he's going to be talking about historic houses that he's discovered and found wonderful during his travels, and one of those is going to be Shirland Hall, and Dan's been involved with the Spitalfields Trust as well, so that should be an exciting way to kick things off. And then the following day at Bluetown Heritage Centre there's going to be a sort of three-way discussion and talk with Ptolemy Dean, who some of your listeners will remember from the restoration programme on BBC Two. And someone called Christopher Woodward, who's a museum curator and another architectural historian, and someone called Edwin Heathcote, who's the architectural correspondent for the Financial Times and has written extensively on all types of architecture and heritage. And the idea is to get those three together. They're all very entertaining and they're good fun, and they're going to be discussing what architecture means to people and to places. And it should be a lively event. And if anyone wants tickets, they're £5, and you can probably buy those on the day, but I would advise people to perhaps to phone up in advance because tickets are going quickly. And in terms of Dan's talk, you can get those from the offices of the Sheerness Times Guardian.
Oh yeah, the KM.
Yeah, exactly. And then the last talk I've organised, which I managed to persuade my dad, Michael Palin, to come down and talk on the Sunday lunchtime, again at the Sheppey Little Theatre. And he's going to be talking about the buildings he's encountered on his travels. So I think that's sold out, I'm afraid to say. Well, I'm pleased to say. But possibly come along on the evening and queue up. You might get some returns, I don't know. But that is as far as my involvement goes in getting those talks together. And I think you had Alison on your show.
Yes, I did, yeah.
Who talked about a lot of the other fringe events that are happening.
Are you able to come and look around the dockyard during this weekend?
Yes, is the answer. There's an opportunity to do this. The commercial port rather, have very kindly agreed to allow some bus tours of their area of the historic dockyard. These need to be, you need to book places via the Bluetown Heritage Centre, who are organising these coach trips, and they are selling out very, very quickly. So I would advise people to get in there quickly and get some tickets.
Now, if our listeners would like to find out more about Promenade, is there contact details or a website they can go along and have a look at?
Sure. I'm going to give you the website of the organisation I run, which is called Save Britain's Heritage, and there are links to the Promenade events on that, including a PDF of the full events leaflet. And the URL for that, the website is www.savebritainsheritage, which is all one word without an apostrophe, .org. And on that front page, you'll see a link to Promenade, and you'll be able to look at what goes on there. And you'll also be able to find out more about Save Britain's Heritage, which is a national independent campaigning charity for architecture and heritage, which I run. And you can discover what we're up to and some of the campaigns we're involved with.
We would like to say thank you very much for speaking to us here at the Monday Night Community Show.
It's a pleasure, Dan. Very nice to talk to you.
That's Will Palin speaking to us all about Promenade here at BRFM.